Hello and welcome my friend, and how are you doing? And next I am planning to show you really interesting situation and in this car engine, and there I have this engine block and we can check that what is the status. There is still this alternator in position, but all other parts are away. And this is cylinder block, and there are pistons in here, and two pistons are in deep. And now I like to show you that how I can check and investigate that is this my car's pistons too worn out or are they still okay, and also what is my piston ring status. And here is this piston what is in that position, and there is really situation that when I move that piston, this really moves. And if we do that kind of check and investigation, that we check that when we have take our cars or engines this cylinder head away, and then when we try to move that and this piston moves so free way like in that my engine, this is very bad situation, because now I can say that this piston is too worn out, that I need to replace new piston and piston rings, and maybe new piston rings could help, but this is my current status, and this piston is moving too much. And that's if I have that kind of situation like I do, this means that my car consumes and eats a lot of engine oil. And this my car, this is Nissan engine, Nissan 1.8 liter engine, and this engine eats about 5 quarters or 5 liters engine oil per this 100 kilometers. And that means that this engine eats same amount this oil like this gasoline, and it is huge amount, and that's this car is this smokes and generates really bad engine pollution when I drive in streets. And here is this reason, because this piston, this moves, even that this engine is like ready to start. And reason is that this engine piston, it has been worn out too much, and also piston rings are stuck. But then, like when we check this next piston, I rotate a little bit this my flywheel in here in that way, and now new pistons in here, they come up, and we do same test that how much I can move that. And there is same situation, that if this our piston moves so much, then there is two things. This piston is too worn out, and also piston rings in here inner, they are worn out and bad. How about the next cylinder? It moves also too much, and this movement means that now this oil goes through that line in here. And how it happens? I take my oil can, and here's my this oil can, and this is my oil can, and I demonstrate that if this moves so much and I insert this my oil, there is this my oil can, this oil goes through these holes in here in this cylinder area, and this is forbidden. That kind of situation, this is not good, because it means that normally oil it can't go through that line and this seal in here. But now when this my piston moves so bad, and piston rings are worn out, oil can go in and out, and especially when engine is running, this engine oil comes in, when it moves in here, this oil comes in their down area to up, and when this oil comes in here, in that area, and then spark plug and gasoline give spark, then this my oil becomes smoke, and this very pollution, this smoke thing. And the reason is now that my piston rings are bad, and also this piston is burned out. But then the most important thing, there is this final piston. What is this piston number? This is the last one in here. And now when we test this piston, there is interesting situation that this piston, this is quite stable, and it don't, there is no this clamp. And why this piston is so tight that this piston it don't move? What is the reason for that? Okay, there is reason for that is that I have now replaced these new piston rings in that cylinder. I have tested that what happens if I install these high quality Nippon piston rings, what I also recommend, and what this makes if I replace in here these new piston rings. And I like to show that what they look like. They are in that kind of package in their inner, and there is comment that first piston ring and second. And now I have installed in this piston new piston rings, and now this my repair, it has makes this piston more tight, because these new piston rings, they compress this sealant in outer area, and we can see that now this piston is more better than this one. And next I like to show that what is difference between those. And now I do so that I rotate a little bit this my cylinder block, that I can take those pistons out. And first I rotate this, that I take this my piston in here out, and there's this my piston. Now, okay, now I managed to take it out. Good. And now this my piston is in here, and now we can see that when there are those piston rings, this is really fresh situation. And next I take this old piston out, that we can compare that what is difference between these new piston rings in here, those new one, and then when I take one of these bad piston rings in our watch. And wait a second. Okay, and now I have took away this one of these bad pistons what were too loosened, and now we can check that this is like old piston rings in here, and this is this new piston rings in here, and we can see this difference. These are like old, and there is mileage in this Nissan engine about 150,000 miles, and it's about in kilometers something like 220,000 kilometers or something like that. And but anyway that this engine should be okay if this is like Toyota's engine. But now of course, because this is Nissan engine, and Nissan engines, they last normally 30% of Toyota's lifespan and lifetime, and that's this 200,000 kilometers is big amount in Nissan engine. But then when we look these piston rings, what is the big difference when we look? This first is like compression ring number 1, it moves. This is the key check. And then the second in middle is compression ring number 2. And then that last one, this is oil ring. And it should move also in same way like this first one and then this second one, piston ring in here. And now when we look this my piston ring, the last one, the lowest one, that how it moves, it seems that it is totally stuck. It's like glue and welded in here, and it don't move. And that thing makes this my car to smoke so much, because there is no any oil seal and oil gasket in this my piston. And when we compare that my this stuck piston in this my first piston, where I have now replaced these new piston rings, we can see this big difference. This first piston ring moves nicely, and then the second, and also this oil ring. What is this lowest one? Look. It moves also. And I rotate that. It moves in that way. Now we can see that all of those 3 piston rings, they must move smoothly. Okay, and then when we compare that my current second piston, when I try to move that, now I managed to, when I compress that hard, this moves. And then I also noticed that this oil ring is totally in of this hole. Look, it is like in, and then when we compare that new one, this new one is much like bigger. But this is so deep in this hole, and that's this oil. This engine consumes so much oil. Okay, and then of course, interesting situation, interesting thing, that how I can then repair if I have that kind of situation that I have stuck piston rings. What I can do if I like to replace these new piston rings. There is solution, yes, and the solution is that we can go to shop in this ebay.com, and there is this brand what I recommend, and this brand name is NPR, and its name come from Nippon piston ring. And why I recommend these piston rings? There is only one reason. The one reason is that this come from Japan. It is the good thing that this is made in Japan, and the most important thing is that this is company what makes piston rings for Toyota cars, and Toyota is the biggest shareholder of this company. And that's when I purchased these Nippon piston rings, these piston rings, like this my Nissan car, I can be sure that now I am using the same quality like if I have this Toyota engine. because now I have made this my Nissan car like in Toyota engine. Actually very little, like 1% or 0.5%. Because if I like to do this Nissan like Toyota, then I should to replace every part, like in piston, cylinder block, all bearings and cylinder head, and then this Nissan engine, it would be like 2 to 3 times better than this current one. But now when I use this Nippon piston rings, I can be sure that the quality is same like in this Toyota parts. And this is like one Toyota's parts. There is also those Lexus signs, and the reason is that this is this cabin air filter element in their inner, and this element fits in this Toyota Camry car, and in US, there is made in USA, that this fits also this Lexus ES 300 series car, what is almost similar than this Toyota Camry. Okay, but this is my message, and that's I recommend this Nissan Nippon piston rings, and this package cost about $60 and same amount in euros. Okay, that kind of interesting information, and see you in next movie, and have a nice day to you.